Hi folks, I'm Lyndsey Wray, otherwise known as UK Bid Writer. SMEs need to approach tendering for public or private sector commercial contracts in a different way to larger organisations. To really stand out from the competition and show off what makes your business the best choice for that contract, we need a specialist in SME tendering. In each episode of the UK Bid Writer podcast, I'll give you practical and effective, tried and tested information and advice on bid writing and bid management to help you win more tenders. Today I'm going to talk about where I've been, why I'm back and what's coming next. Have you missed me? I've missed you. Okay, well, putting aside the mystery of the disappearing Lyndsey for a minute, let's first talk about what the actual F is happening in the world of bids in the UK right now. Some of it's good, some of it's less so, but all of it is pretty confusing. One big thing on everyone's mind right now is the new Procurement Act, which came into force earlier this year. What's it for? Why is it necessary? And what does it mean for you? I'm putting together some individual episodes on the major changes, including an update to my very popular episode, What is Social Value? So keep your ears open for those. But there is a lot already out there about the new Procurement Act, so if you're absolutely desperate to know more, have a rustle through the show notes and I'll stick some links in there. The other big thing in the world of bids is, drumroll please, AI. Dun, dun, dun. I know, it's a controversial subject and there's a lot to be said for avoiding it for as long as possible. First off, a little housekeeping, which is just 3 key things for me to be clear and upfront about. 1, I'm aware that, especially in our ever hysterical media, the term AI has become somewhat of a catch-all for anything to do with data automation, machine learning and so on. And for the sake of our collective sanity and the length of this episode, let's just call it that for now and we can debate the finer points at a later date. 2, speaking of debates, there are better people out there than me who can argue about the ethics of AI, and if that's something you want to do, please go and find them. And 3, I am at this moment in time part of the Spring 2025 cohort of London Business School's course, which is called The Business of AI Strategies for Leaders. This is some self-funded learning I'm doing basically to future-proof my own earning potential. I have a new consultancy opening later this year called, inventively, Lyndsey Wray Consultancy. And if you want to know more about that, head over to redesigning-business.com and get in touch if you think that's something you might be interested in. Right, with that bit of housekeeping out of the way, back to the subject at hand. Way back in 2018, I went to Brussels for the Superpowers of Procurement Data Conference, and the automation of data was already making a big impact across Europe in procurement. I said at the time I hoped the UK would catch up eventually, and with this new central digital platform, it looks like this might finally be starting to happen. However, someone said at that conference that within 5 years, bid writers would be obsolete. So, 5 years, that would have been 2023. Obviously, that isn't quite the case yet, but the nature of bid writing and its surrounding services, bid management, library development, pipeline, all that stuff, definitely will look very different within the next year or so. I'm already seeing new questions on bids that relate to AI. The most obvious one has been around for a while, which is, have you used AI to prepare your bid, and if so, how? I think even a year ago that would have been a reasonable question to ask, but now though you might as well ask, have you used a computer to prepare your bid? The use of AI for pulling together draft responses is a reasonable time-saving thing to do, and if you're not doing that, then it's because you don't know how, you can't trust it, or you've been banned from doing it by someone above you in your company's pecking order. And all of those reasons are also reasonable. The trust thing particularly is a massive deal. Information about your business, especially commercially confidential data, needs to be handled in a secure environment. And if you don't have that secure environment, if you're using free or unguarded AI, then no, you can't trust it. Not because what it's coming up with is rubbish or wrong, but because you can't trust what it might do with the information you feed it. Unsecure AI risks leaking your commercially confidential information out into the world with no way of controlling what happens to it after the fact, and that is not something you want. And if you just don't know how to use AI for bids, well, to be honest with you, I wouldn't really worry about that right now. Once upon a time, a whole bunch of people didn't know how to use Teams or Zoom for meetings, and now we can't escape the bloody things. You'll pick it up. This time next year, you'll be AI prompting away with the best of them, I promise you. There's also a whole swathe of new AI-powered bid writing and management platforms, either recently released or about to be, and all of those will have some level of data security built in. They won't be competitive without it, so it will be a case of who's got the best security, more so even than whose platform actually creates the best bids. A better question, and this is the one that really interests me, is are you utilising AI and machine learning in the business processes you will use to support the delivery of this contract? Now this is the meaty stuff, and this is exactly why I'm back. But first, a word from our sponsor. I've worked with UK SMEs and larger corporations for well over 30 years. Since 2010, through my successful bid management and training consultancy UK Bid Writer, I've helped countless small and medium-sized businesses find, tender for and win public and private sector contracts in every sector. Launching in summer 2025, Lyndsey Wray Consultancy is a boutique business transformation consultancy with a very specific remit. Centred on supporting women-led SMEs to explore, understand and implement new technologies, digital tools and remote-first strategies, it aims to challenge traditional business models and develop stronger, more inclusive and sustainable ways of working that reflect the way we want to live now and in the future. For more information, head over to redesigning-business.com and get in touch. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we can create the future we deserve. Well, everybody loves a good cliffhanger. So, regardless of whether you're bidding to supply widgets or deliver one-to-one training on the operation of a teapot, every tender asks a bunch of questions about your internal processes to determine whether you're able to provide the buyer with the level of contract management, customer service, performance and quality management, and so on. Already we see questions looking for innovation in your processes that add value to the contract. If your guys on site use PDAs to input data that you can see back in the office in real time, that's added value. If you have automated out-of-hours contact systems that mean you can react to an emergency call-out within 30 minutes when your sector standard is 4 hours, that's added value. As businesses move towards using AI to optimise their internal processes, it's logical to assume that the efficiencies it brings can be translated into significant competition-destroying added value when you're bidding for contracts. And in my opinion, this is where you should be focusing your AI efforts. Now, obviously, given the housekeeping disclaimer at the top of the show and that ad we just heard, I have a vested interest in this subject. I'm not going to use this episode as any more of a sales pitch, but I will say that if you're not yet looking into where and how AI and machine learning and new technologies can optimise your business processes, then you are already falling behind. From a broader business development perspective, you will eventually need to look at implementing improvements in areas of your business that don't really have much said about them in bids. But given that today's bids cover almost every aspect of your business, looking at it from that angle is a really good start. I'll give you one example, and it's a really simple one: managing, measuring and monitoring KPIs. So, various people in your organisation will be having daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly meetings, calls and creating and providing documentation, all to evidence your performance against contract service levels. If you're still flinging emails about with Word docs for meeting minutes, saving files as final, updated, final version 3 somewhere, and taking handwritten notes on calls, you're going to lose out to a competitor who routinely has all their meetings and calls about KPIs of any sort recorded and automatically transcribed with automated summaries and actions created in real time, which then automatically pings all the people allocated to those actions and chases them up as needed. If you can imagine this from a health and safety KPI perspective or a defects management perspective, you can start to see where AI can really give you a competitive edge. Because it's not just about making everything a bit quicker, it's about creating and maintaining a really solid accountability trail. And this is just the most simple example I can give you that you can get up and running within your organisation in literally a couple of months. But beyond that, we're going to start seeing performance-enhancing AI. And remember, we're using the term AI as a catch-all just for this episode, where it really is a bit more complex than that. across all functions of your business, from customer service to development of new products and services, environmental management, sustainability, quality management, supply chain efficiency, you name it. So now that I've scared the crap out of you, what can you do? The first thing as ever is go back to basics, look at a selection of your past bids or example bids you like the look of that fit with your bid no bid strategy. Look through the questions and take note of any areas where it's either explicitly or implicitly asking you about how your ways of working offer innovation and added value. And then, start where it makes sense for you to do so. I know that sounds a bit flippant, but what I mean is if you can get a quick win by getting everyone up to speed on Microsoft Copilot and just getting your internal paper trails shipshape, then do that. If it makes more sense for your business in your industry to invest a bit more heavily into a bigger project, then start looking into that. But keep your eye on the prize. There's no point jumping on bandwagons and spending a bunch of money on something shiny that's not going to give you a realistic and relevant payoff down the line. In bidding terms, that means focusing first on the areas of biggest impact that you can achieve for the budget your company can afford. AI is a big and scary thing, but it's not going away, so we might as well lean in and harness it to make our businesses stronger and more attractive to buying organisations. And that includes being able to keep our staff not just employed, but actively developing new skills and using these new tools to enhance, not replace, their work. That's all for today. Many thanks for joining me for this episode of the UK Bidwriter podcast. Make sure to visit my website at ukbidwriter.com and subscribe to the show so you never miss a trick. Find me over on YouTube, where each episode is supported by accurate closed captions. Pop over there and let me know what other stuff you'd like to see from UK Bidwriter on the podcast or beyond. Links in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, it'd be great if you could give it a rating on your preferred podcast platform, or just tell a friend or a colleague and spread the word. And don't forget, you can also contact me directly to talk about what your business needs most to win more contracts by emailing me at lyndsey@ukbidwriter.com, or to find me on the usual social channels, just search for UK Bidwriter. You've been listening to Lyndsey Wray, otherwise known as UK Bidwriter, offering specialist expertise for UK SMEs. It's good to be back. See you next time.